Hello guys, welcome back to another transfer video. Ahsan is here alongside me, the 9321, the connected one. Looking startled there because I jumped in too quickly. Ahsan, welcome back to another video, mate. How are you doing? Are you ready to chat about transfers and all that kind of stuff?
You know I love talking about transfers, mate. That's my it's my happy place when I want to get away
It
from
really
my
is.
own
I
work.
mean, there's something about transfers when the sun's coming out as well. It's even sunny in Manchester right now, by the way. It's something about transfers that just kind of gets you going, doesn't it? It gets you really excited. And I think it's probably needed, actually, after a pretty emotional week for very obvious reasons. I've not spoke to you, actually, since that news came out. How are you feeling about the Sergio Aguero stuff, man? Like, where's your head at after all? You've obviously had a couple of days now to digest it all. Are you there yet? Or are you still
It's gotten
struggling?
worse for me. So I was all right when the news broke. I was like, bit expected, so okay, we'll move on. But then it's been weird that I'm not even kidding. Like the last 24 hours, I found myself, whenever I think about it, very emotional. And also when you look at, because obviously there'll be lots of retrospectives and everything that he's done, and yeah, wow, like there's a lot of things about Sergio that will probably go under the radar, or people won't talk about a lot. But for me, when I think about a guy from Argentina coming to Manchester at 23 years old, and then proceeding to spend a decade at City, it's mind blowing. And when you look at the fact that he will probably be the club's greatest ever player, and the fact that he stayed there for that long, I had a conversation yesterday about the Premier League's greatest ever foreign imports. If you look at success and longevity, there's not many that can compare with Con. Maybe Drogba. I don't know how long he was at Chelsea for, but I know that
7-8 years, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
7 or 8 or something.
So it was still a long time, and he had that thing where I think he won the European Cup with the last kick of the ball when he took the penalty, didn't he? That won them the European Cup. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at that stage where, of course, I'm excited about what will happen in the summer. Of course, I'm excited about the rebirth of this team. I'm really proud to be able to look back on that generation with Aguero, with Silva, with Vinny, with Zaba.
Yeah.
I think that we have examples in our dressing room for new players. When new players come in, there's a culture at Manchester City, and that culture was set by Sergio Aguero, David Silva, and that generation of players. And they are shining examples, because over a decade, not one agent got in the newspapers and started talking trash. There was no, I want to go to Madrid, I want to go back to Barcelona. At no point did that collection of players. Richard Jolly has done a great thing in 442 today, talking about that and how that collection of players, they had opportunities. Vinny had the option to go to Barcelona. Real Madrid wanted Aguero many times, similar with David Silva, and the players showed loyalty, obviously because of a culture that Khaldoon, Cheeky, Soriano, and the coaches fostered at the club. But it also showed that generation's professionalism, and yeah, I mean, it's incredible, really. What Aguero did is just.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace what he. I said yesterday on Twitter last night that I don't think we could ever replace that emotional connection that we have with a player like that in terms of what he did for us on that infamous day. I mean, that for me emotionally was as high as it ever will get in football. I mean, we'll have incredible times after, but he brought us the most iconic moment, possibly definitely the Premier League history, but possibly in football history. It was that special of a moment, and I guess it was like years and years of pain and unraveling, and finally it was our moment. And he brought that, and no matter what, everyone else we can sign up for that, they can't replace that emotional connection, because he's just a special player. I was lucky, I say lucky, but it was my mum's 60th yesterday, so whenever else was feeling like really down about everything, I've been trying to be a good son and organise a socially distanced kind of like sensible. So I've had no time to really even digest the Aguero stuff, so I feel like I've been disconnected away from it all, because it's just been, I've been focusing on family for the past 24 hours or so. But it's really today, when I've sat there today in the cold light of day and thought about it, I'm like, I just miss him. I miss him already, and he's still here, which says, I guess, exactly how much is an incredible An incredible player. But I guess closing one door means another is going to open, which is always the way. And we've already seen City somehow managed to seemingly accomplish the impossible. I mean, I can't say we've replaced them, but things don't look too bad at the moment without David Silva, without Vincent Kompany, and Sergio's barely played this season either. So we've proven time and time again that we're pretty good at moving on and finding a new way to be very, very successful. And what's to say 10 years from now, we're not looking at someone like Ruben Diaz in the same light as Vincent Kompany or Phil Foden, or whoever comes in to replace Aguero. What's to say that they're not 10 years down and love life in Manchester and who scored 200-300 goals as well. And it's very, very possible, especially given some of the names we're going to talk about today. And I wanted to get you on particular, mate, because I know you are particularly connected to, an awful lot of journalists in the game and all that kind of stuff. And today there's been a lot of news around Messi, in particular, one story attributed to Paul Ballas, who's been on my channel as well, actually, briefly during the Messi crazy summer last year. And a story was attributed to him that said City have decided not to present an offer to Messi, with interest fading since last summer, with apparently City preferring to look towards Haaland, Kane, and maybe even Lukaku. Now, you've got a bit of an update on that yourself personally, haven't you, mate?
I talked to Paul in the last hour, and he didn't write a word of that story. It has absolutely nothing to do with him. I said to him, can I go on a podcast, talk about it? He was like, you could tell anybody you want. I had nothing to do with that story. I didn't write it. I don't know why they put my name on it. Your man is angry in a way that I've never seen a journalist be angry about something that's been attributed to them. Because normally, I mean, even for me, check this out. So like, we're having a conversation on WhatsApp, and I thought he was saying to me, I didn't write the headline in the tweet. Because obviously there was a tweet that did the rounds. So that just made me laugh. I was like, that's funny, like, sub-editors and all that sort of business. How it goes, like, people write that stuff. It's only like 5 minutes later that he's gone, I'm going to kill someone at sport. And I'm just like, wait a minute. And then I've read his thing and again, I'm gone, hang on, are you saying you had absolutely nothing to do with the story? And he's like, exactly, not a word. So, I mean, look, for somebody like me, everybody will know I want Messi. So I was devoed when I saw Paul's story, obviously not his story, but when I saw the sports story this morning, I was devoted. I sent him a WhatsApp going, you made me cry before breakfast, one of those things. And now his reaction just makes me go, okay, that's weird. Like he's really annoyed at the fact that something that has got nothing to do with him has been attributed to him. And I guess the underlying thing for me is, I wonder whether if there was truth in it, and I suspect that it wouldn't take Paul long to find out if there's truth in it. I suspect if there was some truth in it, he wouldn't be so angry. I'm speculating. Yeah. I'm obviously not going to go to him and go, hey, are you angry because you know that it's not true? That's, he's not going to tell me that anyway. But for me, for him to be so angry, it must just be bobbins as a story, in which case...
It makes you wonder where it came from and why it's been put to him, doesn't it? Because you're like, well, you can't just make up a story and put one of your journalist's name to it. I mean, I guess that probably does happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But, I mean, it does make you like, it makes you wonder, what is the source
of
that?
Can I give you a theory?
Go on, mate.
Can I give you a theory?
Can indeed.
It's very political, the situation in Barcelona. That's pretty apparent. I wonder whether this is somebody who knows how close Paul and Lou are to Guardiola and to
that's Lou Martin,
coaching
right?
Team. Yeah, because Paul Ballas and Lou Martin wrote a fantastic book, which I think in Spanish was called "The Making of Pep Super Team," which is about his first 2 years in Manchester.
Yeah.
Yes, we should give it a plug. Like before this is over, you should hold the cover up so that
you carry on talking. I'll slide there and see if I can see
it. You go and do that. So, so look, I think that from a political point of view, when I look at that story and the way that it's been written and the fact that they've stuck it on the front page of Sport with a picture of Leo and it says City aren't buying Leo, they're not interested in Leo. There's some politics involved in that. You can't help but feel that's somebody trying to undermine something, because the story even says, so now Leo's only got two options in the summer, PSG or staying at Barcelona. And as soon as I read that line, I kind of just took a step back and went, really? You're going to try and convince me that after everything that's been said about Messi from City's side, after Omar Barada's interview in October, after the transfer window closes, that City have just gone cold on Leo, having presented him with, like, you know, a 5-year plan 8 months ago?
Especially his form as well. You look at his form right now; he's absolutely killing it once again. He's like he's found a new lease of life. So why would we go? I fancied him 4 months ago, but right now, no. I know he's absolutely incredible still, and might be even easier to get somehow. But nah, it doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense whatsoever.
And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Messi's coming to City at all, or that he wants to. I suspect that what's going on basically is that everybody's waiting for Leo to decide what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I imagine the feeling is that with the team doing well and all that sort of stuff, there's a feeling that he will end up staying. So who knows? But I guess that from my point of view, City point of view, Paul is saying he didn't write that story. If Paul wrote that story, I'd say Messi ain't coming to City and it's over. But the fact that he didn't, we'll have to wait and see.
This is a man who wrote this book, guys, basically, which is Pep City. And Paul and Lou essentially had access to more or less like Pep's Inner Circle for an awful long time as he wrote this very, very good book. And he deserves the plug because it's genuinely fantastic. He offers you little insights into the life and what makes this essentially a super team, as it's called, the making of a super team. It's genuinely brilliant, and I would recommend reading that to everyone. But I guess the further point is that this guy knows he's connected. He knows his stuff, and he does. Obviously, no one's perfect all the time, but if he's very angry that it's been attributed to Manchester City, there's probably a reason, and that's probably fair, isn't it? You know, you would think he's like, well, hang on, this has nothing to do with me. Don't put me this name to me, because maybe he doesn't want to destroy his own credibility if it happens not to be true. But I'm with you, man.
Well, that's why you'd be angry. You'd be angry because it's not credible and because it's got your name plastered across it. That's what would make me angry. If the story, as I say, for me, and I'm speculating, but I imagine that it wouldn't take Paul that many phone calls to have some feeling on whether it's true or not. And so I get the sense that his reaction is based on it just not being true at its root. And therefore he's like, well, I want to distance myself from this.
I would agree with that. It seems to make a lot of sense. And usually, that's it. You don't have a strong reaction like that unless, I mean, if you thought it was true and you're like, oh, they've got a scoop here, but like, I'll take it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't seem to make sense. Because you wouldn't exactly. You be like, I'll take that in a big newspaper. You know, it's not a bad scoop. And I kind of thought it was true. And I'd be like, But then you don't get annoyed at something unless you think it's going to make you look bad, do you? It's as simple as that. It's like it's human nature. We'll all take an easy win if we get a chance to take it, you know. And like it's to me, it seems that there's probably plenty of gas left in this Messi tank either way. It seems it's going to roll on and roll on. And I'm like you, man. If Messi comes to Man City, I am not complaining. Even if he is 34 or whatever, he's still an insanely good footballer, like a special footballer. And just to watch him even for one season in a blue shirt would be an honour because he's absolutely insane. And just imagine him, man.
I've seen people say he's past it. Just check the statistics and don't call me again. You understand what I mean? Like,
even just for his free kicks, he'd be worth it. Even just for his free kicks, he'd be worth it, wouldn't it? Because he's that insane. But then he's passing. He's probably alongside Kevin De Bruyne. He's probably the best passer in the world, you know. Still, and he's close control and he's finishing. He's just insane. I like these days about Messi, his evolution of his career, where he doesn't bother beating 5 people anymore. He just puts in the top corner from 30 yards instead.
Exactly.
All the time. He's just brilliant.
We need a finisher. Like I think that one of the things that we have as a team probably lacked when Aguero hasn't been available or hasn't been on form is just a clinical finisher, just a guy. Like one of the things that I've always thought is quite curious about this City team is that, you know, most of our attackers are 1 in 2, 1 in 3 when it comes to big chances, but most big teams or super teams, they have at least a couple of guys that are 1 in 1.5, 1 in 1.7. Do you know what I mean? Like just a little more certainty when they see the goalkeeper's eyes. And we don't really, I've said this on podcasts loads of times, like you'd throw a hat over who you'd choose if Sterling, Jesus, Mahrez, Bernardo all go through one-on-one. Yeah. Who you putting the most money on to score in that situation? I've seen them all do such horrendous things when presented with easy chances that it's hard to pick one and go, he's the guy that I'd put my money on.
And with someone like Messi, when he's in form, it's not a 1-in-1. It's sometimes a 1 in 0.75 or whatever. Because it's insane. Like, he can subvert statistics, which is just genuinely ridiculous. I mean, and I would take him simply because he's Messi, and also because the space he'd create for everyone else. It's a no-brainer. I mean, you've got that, and then the potential of other players that are pretty special as well. Now, there's one story that Paul Willis won't mind being put his name to, because basically there's a story today that said he understands that City are planning for a generational changeover during the summer, which is a big phrase, generational changeover, with the likes of Erling, Haaland, and Harry Kane apparently being on that list as well. Now, according to Paul as well in the story, he said Guardiola feels like he's been a striker for much of the season, which is interesting given Jesus, but I guess it depends how he sees him. And that's something that City don't want to happen again, understandably, because you can't just constantly rely on the false nine thing. It's got to work, but every now and then it will come stuck. And as you said, sometimes you need just a clinical bastard. You know, he didn't say that. I put it in less eloquent words on you there. But sometimes you need something like that. And maybe, just maybe, someone like Haaland and Kane are at the top of the list. Now, a little bit of news from today as well, just to add more context to this story. According to Bild, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge has basically turned around and said that they're not in for Haaland, which is interesting. So that's one big name potentially out there, and especially given the fact that Lewandowski's getting a little bit older. You thought, well, maybe they could do that typical German thing where they somehow, force a player to wait for another year, but they're not in for him this summer. So that's one hat out of the race, so to speak. What do you reckon, man? Where you at with Haaland at the moment and the potential replacement? I personally heard from someone, it might be the same guy that we both know, that City are in deep for Haaland and they're really going for it. But what do you reckon? What's your take and where you're up to with it all?
I don't think they would have let Aguero go right now.
Yeah.
Without feeling that one of the top two targets are gettable. And what I mean by gettable is they know what the price is and they're prepared to pay it. Because it's an interesting one. The Aguero one is interesting in the sense that he's not played a lot of football for City this season.
Yeah.
But the idea that Aguero is finished in top level football I don't really believe that. And I think that, I understand why Guardiola might look at Premier League games before the title's won and gone, well, you know what, Con? I can't use these games just to get you fit because there's too much riding on them. But at the same time, Con will get fit and he will get another club and he will go and score goals somewhere else.
Yeah.
For City to make that call so far in advance that basically end of March, they've gone, it's cool, you can go, and to tell him very directly, there'll be a new number 9 and then you'll be a substitute next season.
Well, that was the quote, wasn't it, as well, from Paul, who said that it was explained to Sergio that a new number 9 would arrive, and he basically, that's true as well, yeah.
Yeah, that in that conversation between Guardiola and Aguero 2 days ago or 3 days ago at the training ground, that's basically what Pep said. Pep said, we're signing a new number 9 this summer and you'll be on the bench more next season. So, and I think there's been a lot of talk of, I can't believe that City are just gonna not offer him anything when it's so clear that he wants to stay. Because there's been a lot of social media stuff and sad face emojis and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to talk out of turn, but I understand that City did offer Aguero something. Yeah, it's not that they just went, we're not offering you a contract, bye. They did have a conversation and something was presented to him. But that thing was very much, when you play, you'll get paid. But otherwise, we can't pay you, whatever it is. I'm not going to speculate about what his current wage is, but
his full wage, I guess, at very least.
Yeah, basically, City's point of view was we're not going to give you another 2-year contract. And for the year extra that we're offering, we're not going to pay you the full whack. It'll be more of a, when you play, you'll get paid type deal. And I think that for Aguero, he's looking for a 2-year deal, and he feels he can still contribute at a high level somewhere. And I believe that, and I respect it. And quite frankly, I think he's earned the right to go wherever he wants. And I mean that, like, even in the Premier League, if Aguero turned around and went, I want to go to Chelsea, and Chelsea went, we want you, I'd be like, fine. You know what? After everything you've done for Manchester City, of course, who are we to stand in your way? He'll be our greatest ever player, no matter what. Like, him going to Chelsea won't change that.
I agree that he's in the right to do what he wants. I kind of hope he doesn't. I'll be honest. Like, I can't. I mean, it would be a tinge of me going, "Come on, man, could you just please choose someone else?" But for what it's worth, I wouldn't be surprised now if he just chooses sunshine and some kind of better route, maybe to his family. I don't know what that would be because I'm not up to international travel routes or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he. I mean, I know this sounds really weird, but like, you might think with the state of the UK at the moment and we travel and all this kind of stuff, you might just feel like, I don't know when things are going to end. You might just fancy going somewhere else, a little bit sunnier. And with his son as well and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes an awful lot of sense for him to go back to maybe Spain or something like that. It might be weird because obviously a lot of the big clubs that you think would take him, they've got their own situations. Obviously, like they've all got their own financial situations to resolve as well. If you look at Barca, they've got a pretty big problem called Lionel Messi. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a problem, but they've got to try and solve that first, find money for that potentially. They've also, Juventus have got the Ronaldo situation to try and sort out because that is costing them an awful lot of money as well. And these big clubs, they do have their own financials to kind of sort out before they go for someone like Aguero if they do want to. I mean, I don't know where he's going to end up. But I do. Well, one thing I do know is that we've seen his best here, and I think we all probably know that, unless he finds a new lease of life. And whatever happens, I think we'll all love him dearly, regardless. The only one thing I will say, just don't sign for United. That's the only one. Like, maybe even like, just, I'm sorry, Sergio, I would be a bit pissed off at you personally. I know you wouldn't do that. I mean, I think he even said that thing once in a clip where he joked about, someone said, what United players you get in the City team? And he went, none. So I think he's aware entirely. I don't think he needs to. He just doesn't need to. And I'm sure we'll give him an awful lot of money somewhere. So I'm not sure he definitely wants to stay in the Premier League. But we'll see, I guess. I mean, someone just said in the comments, by the way, I'm going to get this one up here. Mihail saying, imagine an Aguero reunion with Silva. Oh, Mihail, mate, that's an incredible...
I'm behind that. Yeah. I'm right behind that. Let's make
Alexander Isaac go somewhere. Yeah, Isaac goes somewhere, man.
And right behind that. Love that.
Boom. I love it. I love that idea. It'd be beautiful. It'd be wonderful. And I want to see it happening. But to me, going back to Haaland, I think I'm starting to believe, mate. I'm starting to believe, genuinely.
You know what? You're a guy who is, how do I say this politely? You're quite cynical.
Yeah, you're cynical.
You're cynical.
I'm the worst at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're the opposite.
And I'm the opposite. And Howard Hockin on our podcast is exactly the same as you. Like, he's the eternal pessimist. And so I kind of look at you guys as my barometer. When I begin to see you guys getting excited about something, then I know it's on.
Literally getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like, that's how much Haaland, the idea of Haaland means to me. Like, it'll be the most excited I've been for a transfer. Like, I can't, well, probably ever, maybe. Genuinely, I think it'd be the most excited I've been a transfer ever. Or maybe when Shawnee Wright was coming back for the emotional connections. But other than that, I mean, I was excited for Aguero and Silva, but I didn't know what they could potentially be at the time. And I don't think I'd even really accepted who we were about to be at the time. So it was very exciting. But this for me is easily the most excited I'd ever be for a transfer of Haaland. Obviously, Messi probably is close to that as well, admittedly. But to me, it just feels like a potential statement. And we talked a lot in the last video we did together about City needing to make a statement potentially, given the fact that you let a number 9 with quality Aguero go, you've got to be willing to step it up. And with all due respect to Danny Ings, whose name's still somehow flying around, he ain't that step up. He isn't that step up, is he really? You definitely need like... You need a Haaland, man. You do need a Haaland.
I need to have a beer with Danny Ings' agent. Because that guy's top draw, bro. You can rep me whenever you want in a deal.
Yeah, mate, you'll be right in the next fucking Avengers film or something like that.
He's killing it, that guy is. Killing it. It's Southampton going to end up paying Danny Ings like 200 grand a week and smashing their wage structure because of stories that he's going to City. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, I watch us all here. Oh, it was Ings, like 2 months later. But either way, that's not to once again, we just got to say, we're not disrespecting him. He's a good footballer. He's just not what we want. Like, he's one of those things where
I don't think, look, I think if Jesus left, I could probably understand that they'd look at somebody like Danny Ings and go, well, he'll be a decent backup if Haaland is, or Kane is injured. Are we going to talk about Harry Kane, or are we just going
to
let that
was
float
the next.
Under the
No, that was the next on the list, because on my list on my notepad, I've got Paul Hurst actually running a story today in the Times saying City will consider a Kane bid if Haaland, if they can't essentially just nudge Haaland out the Dortmund door. I mean, I offer my quick opinion on Harry Kane. I think he's that guy we were talking about earlier, a one goal in one game kind of player, potentially maybe even more at Manchester City, given the fact that we create a damn sight more chances than Spurs, and we are a vastly better side than Spurs. Even if they will somehow beat us in games every now and then, we are a much better side than them. And his game has evolved a little bit as well to possibly even suit Guardiola. Some of the assists he's made recently. I think he's a snidey bastard, I'll be honest. I'm not really keen on him as a person, but I can't deny as a footballer, he's brilliant in my personal opinion. I mean, where do you stand on the Kane side as a player, and also as how realistic is it in your opinion?
Well, if Haaland is realistic, then there isn't a footballer on the planet this summer who isn't realistic for Manchester City, because I think that Haaland represents a kind of marquee that City have never gone after, and it represents a situation which is competitive in a way that I've never seen City go after a player where it's competitive like this. Yeah. So that suggests, and again, if you read the tea leaves, if you look at what Paul is saying, and that how did he describe it? A generational change, or whatever it is.
Change, yeah.
Yeah, like when those close to City, when those close to the powers that be begin to talk in that sort of language, it's that goosebump thing, because it makes me think we've never really been a club that have flexed our financial power in the way that people think that we have. I think one of the things that really bothers people is the fact that we haven't broke any transfer records. What bothers people is whenever those lists come out, right? City, there is no City players on them, because we do things in a slightly different way. And I think because of that, because we're successful at doing that, people throw jibes at us. But I think this summer, it's going to be more a case of we just land the targets that we want, and we don't really, I'm not going to say there isn't a ceiling, but, if you come to the table and your plan is to replace Sergio Aguero with Erling Haaland or Harry Kane or Lukaku or Lautaro or Felix, they're all costing you north of 100 million. Your transfer record is what, 68, 69? You're smashing it. So forget it. Like those conversations are gone. On top of that, unless I'm mistaken, it'll be a British transfer record. What's the biggest internal transfer in the Premier League? Poggy?
About 90. About
Pogba, 90. And Pogba, United said it was 89, but Football League say it was 120. United ended up paying. So in the end, we're going to end up breaking that record, I think. So in terms of realisticness, yes, it's realistic. I remember 3 years ago, talking to Marty Perrinell, and I remember him saying to me that Harry Kane is an amazing player, and Pep loves him. I think a few other people have said, and a few journalists have said it. Pep really loves Kane. There's something about him that he really loves. So, I think that if for whatever, so let's play hypotheticals. Let's say that Dortmund finish in the top 4 in Germany and have Champions League football next season. They sit down with Haaland and they go, even if somebody brought us £300 million, we're not selling you, so forget it, move on, get your head down. And Haaland goes, okay, I'll get my head down. City then have to move because Aguero's gone. I think Harry Kane will be the first place they'd go, without question. I don't see... I know that people will go, yeah, but Felix is like a false nine. And no, I just think that I've been told, and read this however you want, Manchester City want an old school traditional number 9 this summer.
I believe you
Yeah.
massively.
So
I'll quickly interject. I believe you simply because it goes back to what we were saying 15 minutes ago about just pure chance conversion. And I feel like it's human. There's no one in football still who doesn't value the goals of a number 9. Still, regardless of how Manchester City play, sometimes you just need someone to trust in a one-on-one. And as great as false nines can be, they are still. It's weird. Even if a false 9 scored 40 goals a season, you'd still associate it as a false 9. And sometimes you just want someone who's good in the air as well, who can score a header. Sometimes you just want someone who knows to make that near post run. And I don't doubt it. And also because we know City like variety. We discussed this last time we were talking too. They like a variety of players who play in the same role. And they do it for a reason. It's intentional that they've got Joao Cancelo and Kyle Walker as the right back options. It's intentional that, in my opinion, when we sign a left back, it'll be different to what Zinchenko does. And it's intentional that any future player that can be back up to Rodri will be different to Rodri. And City we don't miss these beats, do we? We know exactly what we're doing. And we're not going to just sign another false 9 when Gabriel Jesus can work really hard. Phil Foden, Gundogan, Bernardo can even do this job a little bit. We want someone who's going to go through the middle. And I totally agree with you, man. We do want a striker, definitely.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that this season has probably shown Pep that he's got false 9s galore in his squad.
Yeah.
If you want to tactically play with a false 9, well, Phil Foden's done it really well. KDB can do it. Bernardo can do it. Raz can do it. It's cool. You don't need to. I think the João Felix thing is weird in the sense that João Felix is a sexy name, right? And he's obviously a very talented footballer, but
he looks a bit like a young Aguero as well, which probably helps.
That helps too. But the question I have, and the real question I have is, so would you be comfortable going into next season dropping let's say that Atleti won 130, right? Dropping 130 on Felix and going, he's going to score the 30 goals that ensure that we win the Premier League? Because it's a risk that the club aren't going to do it this summer. This summer, it's like we want a number 9 who does number 9 things in number 9 places, and the biggest thing is just scoring goals.
Look at it this way, Ahsan. He scored 46 goals in his career across Benfica B and Atletico. 46 goals, full stop. He's a brilliant player, but someone like Kane could score that in one season for us. I mean, I know he's obviously difficult. I know he's young and all that kind of stuff, but I guess that points out that's 46 goals in 142 games. It's not a terrible record, but it's more close to that 1 in 2, 1 in 3, just below 1 in 2, and a bit better than 1 in 3.
Gabby's record is like that.
If anything better, I would probably say.
Yeah,
it'll probably not be better. I mean, and that's not to say he can't improve, because we know, for example, the similar age Ronaldo wasn't that. He scored something like his goals went for 2, 12, 14, then all of a sudden 30 odd, and it can happen. But there's nothing to suggest to me that right now it would be anything other than a gamble. It would be a gamble to presume. And I don't know. I'm not certain like Joao Felix. He might have been more desirable a year ago when we hadn't learned this lesson, about the false 9 kind of thing. And there was less question marks about Aguero, or maybe even less question marks about Jesus to an extent, which I don't think is unfair either. It might have been made more sense a year ago, but right now, I just don't see what he could bring that unique, other than being a fantastic player, that I guess would bring something different to the table for Manchester City. And I guess as well, man, it leads on to another question, because a player we've been linked to quite heavily, Grealish, that is not dying down at all. And I know he's not the same. Yeah, Mr. Jack Grealish. I mean, I know he's a different player, but he's not that different to Joao Felix. He's not he's put it this way. I would say Joao Felix is closer to Jack Grealish as a player than he is to Aguero as a player, in terms of stylistically. So I just don't see what you'd get from having the links to Jack Grealish so strongly and then also go for someone like Joao Felix. It doesn't make sense to me. You're just signing 2 players you probably like to drift into similar spaces. But the Jack Grealish thing, man, that is it's loud. It's definitely still there. And there was some big rumours that they were talking quite a lot about him during the international break. But he's a very expensive player. What have you heard anything particular about Grealish, or is it a case where you've got your own thoughts about him?
I think that didn't I say it on the video last week that I'd heard that City are actively talking to Aston Villa about signing Jack Grealish? So if City are actively talking to Villa, that means that they will sign Grealish, because I'm not sure that. I think that when City, Sam Lee has said this quite often, Jack has said it, loads of the writers that are close to the team, the transfer team at City, have said this, that generally it's around now, it's this international break, This is the moment that they get serious. It's when they pick up the phone and they go, right, we want to buy this guy off you. Let's begin that conversation now so that when the season ends, we're already on our way. So I think from a, like, is it real or not? I think it's very real. Jack Gorn did a big thing this morning. And I trust Jack's sources. I think he's very, very, very well connected when it comes to City. And he's not a writer that writes rubbish. There's a lot of writers that will just write anything that any no man tells them because it's a story, right? But Jack's not like that. He makes sure that all of his stuff is stood up properly. So if he's saying...
Just to interject there, man, I know that's true because he doesn't like coming on these videos in case he says something that would be attributed to him correctly because he likes to make sure it's well-sourced first. So, like, I don't blame him for that. He doesn't like being on videos because, obviously, things can get picked up off them and he needs to make sure it's proper, right? So,
Absolutely.
He said similar to me before, so that's definitely true.
I think it's why he doesn't like ending up on aggregators and stuff like that because he's just like, it's so hard to give the context of a big thing in like 200 characters. So, but yeah, Jack wrote the Grealish thing. He went big with it this morning. And he basically has heard exactly the same thing as me, which is that they have begun speaking to Villa about doing Grealish. I saw that James Ducker at the Telegraph said that the valuation put on his head is £100 million by Villa. And weirdly enough, I don't think that's going to scare City off. I think...
Really?
I think... I get the impression...
What that implies is insane. You're going to have $250 million in one window, potentially.
Well, I think that what it implies is that they smell opportunity this summer. And what I mean by that is the project is the project, and the project is big, and the project started 10 years ago. And, you know, we were ahead of schedule when we won the title, and we've built a lot of things, and we've got ourselves to where we are now, the most successful team of the last decade. But we've had a lot of challenges, and we haven't really stood on the neck of the Premier League in the way that maybe Bayern Munich stand on the neck of the German league, or Paris stand on the neck of the French league. And I wonder whether this summer they're looking at the kind of general landscape of their competition, and they're looking at the finances around football, and they're going, we've got an opportunity this summer to sign 2 or 3 players and almost solidify this next generation. And in terms of the leap that it gives you from your competition, it gives you a big step forward. Now, I'm not saying that we would end up standing on the neck of the league, but I'd like that. You know, I'm one of those guys who they've been writing it. They've been writing it for, like, you know, every time City win a title, it's like, oh, there's no competition in the league. It's not competitive. It's not fair. How can anyone compete with City? I'm like, they write it. We should just do the thing. We should buy the players.
You ain't seen nothing yet. That's what you want to be, don't you? You want to see. Let's actually show exactly how it feels. Let's show him. Let's show him Bayern's dominance in the league. One thing I would say, I mean, you may disagree. Is it possible? You know, because obviously, you know, some other clubs have got pretty deep pockets as well. But I guess maybe it's possible in terms of we're better at it, not financially, because obviously, I mean, Chelsea have got a lot of money, but are they as well organised as we are? Are they as? I don't know. Are they? Do you think it's possible? Genuinely?
I think as long as Roman stays at Chelsea, it probably won't be. I think that he has the same. So I think that it's not about money at City, and it's not about money at Chelsea. It's about the fact that they're actually well run. Yeah, people upstairs know what they're doing. They have a deep roots. Like, the club isn't just the first team; it's way wider and way deeper than that. And so I don't think that we could ever, like, you know, we can't turn it into a farmers league as much as I'd love for us to do that. I think that Chelsea will be there or thereabouts. But I think that United and Liverpool and the American owners, they've got no appetite to compete. They think that they can shortcut it. They think that they can moneyball it. And I think that I've said this on the Night 320 podcast. I'm getting better at plugging my own podcast, by the way. I've said it
next time we do this, mate, by the way, next time we do this, I put Esteemed Kompany below me, and I put 9320 below you, so we got like an EK and
Love it.
9320.
I want the logo.
Yeah, we'll do that next time.
Logo there. I love that.
If you give me a few seconds, I'll do. You carry on talking. I'll be able to do it right now, man.
I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
It's something about Chelsea and United Moneyballing.
United and Liverpool Moneyballing it. Look, I think that even like the writers that are close to Liverpool are now saying that Edwards got lucky with Salah and Mane, and that's Michael Edwards, their technical director or whatever he is, the guy who buys the players at Liverpool. And they're now saying he has to repeat that trick, except they're not sure he can repeat that trick again, because where you're going to find a guy that costs you 30 million but actually plays like a 120 million pound player. So it's going to be quite challenging for them unless they decide that they want to like actually just go after ready-made players, like not moneyball it. Even the defender that they've been linked with, Ibrahim Konate from Red Bull, he's got a bad injury record. Like somebody put up the transfer market injury record thing, and I thought they'd photoshopped it. I thought it was fake, and then I actually went to it. I went, wow! Like, so he's only played one season of football, and that was 3 years ago or 2 years ago. He's not got through a whole season since then. He's had, and it's apparently the same knee or muscle tear issue that he's had. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. From a competition point of view, I look at City and the way that they seem to want to do business this summer, and I go, yeah, Chelsea are probably the club with Tuchel next season that will be there or thereabouts with us.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for Liverpool and United, they'll have to surprise me in what they do in the transfer market.
Which I don't think United in particular are that surprising or that organised or genuinely. I think there's too much of a step there for them, to really kind of claw back the position that they've got. I also don't think they have the savviness or the knowledge, to be honest, and I don't think they have the coach. And I'm not trying to say Solskjaer's a terrible coach. I just don't think I think he's all right. I think he's fine, and I think he's got a bunch of players that do better than his coaching probably does sometimes. And even then, they're better. He's still only second and miles behind, So I'm not just trying to say that to kind of be a big burden and all that kind of stuff. I just genuinely think it's true. They're okay, but they'll never be great. As in terms of left backs, man, Robert Gosens has still been linked a little bit. He's obviously a very good player. Can you see City going for a left back this summer?
No, not going for a left back. I don't know. I don't think it'll be Gosens.
Okay.
Pretty well sourced that it'll be Mendes. That if they do a left back, it will be the lad at Sporting. It's Nuno Mendes, I think it's called. It's just a question of whether they bring him this year or whether they almost do a deal and then loan him back for a year. Somebody, maybe one of the viewers can tell us, has Mendy only got 1 year left on his contract after this year at Man City? Would next season be his last season contractually? Because if that's the case, then I imagine that that's the play from City's point of view, that they'll try and move Mendy this summer. But if they can't, they'll go, okay, fine. Well, we'll keep him for 1 more year. He'll go on a free, and then we'll bring Nuno Mendes in.
Google tells me it's 2023. His contract runs out, but that could be wrong. But don't. Yeah, but it could be wrong. Someone say, but then Ollie's just said in the comments, I don't know, it says 2022. I honestly don't know, but I saw someone say that apparently, I saw it on a forum, so it could be nonsense. Domolino on a forum, it could be him, but I'm pretty certain he said on them that the all you can offer is a 5-year contract in the Premier League, but then what they do is like trigger an extension to the year after to take it up to 6 years because if you want to get around that. So I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of people are saying in the comments as well it's 2023, so I'm not sure if they got it off Google. I feel like we would have heard something about his contract running out by now, maybe. I don't really know, man. But
you know what? I'll tell you something. Varane's contract is running out in a year, and I didn't know about that until like a week or 2 weeks ago. There's
who's that? Sorry,
Rafael Varane at Real Madrid.
Really? I didn't know that about
him. Yeah, it made me go and look, and there's a lot of players, big players, with contract issues at big clubs, and I think that what we're seeing, like with the KDB stuff earlier in the year, and it was like, oh my God, he didn't sign a deal and he's upset at what they've offered him. I wonder whether COVID has made all the clubs kind of go, you know what, we're just not renewing you. You've got 3 years left. Relax. Like you're going to want a pay rise. I'm not going to give you a pay rise now. We'll wait a little bit longer. And I wonder whether from more and more from players' points of view, they will run their contracts down, big players especially, because if you're signed to Man City and you're Kevin De Bruyne, for example, City are never going to sell you. So it has to be a Leroy Sané thing. You have to run your deal down, get to the summer before it expires, and go, I'm not signing up. This is where I want to go. Sell me.
Hey, son, got something for you right now on the stream. Boom. Oh, you're there.
Oh, look at that. I love it.
Lovely stuff,
Absolutely
man. Like, that'll be ready for next time. I've just done that literally as you were talking. I was there, like, I wasn't even paying attention. I was like editing in Photoshop massively, but it was worth it for next time we do this, definitely, because I think it's a very good link up that everyone's massively enjoying based on the comments, man. I'm going to go wild, man. What do you reckon this summer then? I'm going to ask for a prediction. Don't worry, it doesn't come off. No one will remember this video. Don't worry. Who do you reckon City will sign this summer then?
Oh, I think Haaland is in the bag. I don't think, when I say it's in the bag, I think Haaland will be City's new number 9. If you wanted me to like give it a percentage, I'm at 85%. I don't see, I think no, the only thing left in the middle is Dortmund. That's the only thing left in the middle. I don't view, and this might come back and bite me on the ass, but who cares? I don't view Madrid as a threat, and I don't view Chelsea as a threat. Not for Haaland. Not when the lad was training in a Balotelli shirt at Salzburg, not when his dad played for City, not when, I'm sorry, it's done. That's my vibe on Haaland. After that, Steve, I honestly don't know. And the reason that I say that is because City are going to do more business than just Haaland. And if I say Grealish, could be Grealish. If I say Messi, could be Messi. If I say Zakaria from Gladbach, that wouldn't surprise me. Hell, if it was Locatelli from Sassuolo, I wouldn't be shocked by that either. If they ended up going and getting Gosens from Atalanta, that wouldn't shock me either, because they're in the mood to flex their financial muscle this summer. And if they're going to do that, then we can expect 2 or 3 minimum top players arriving at Manchester City.
Hey, son, it's very exciting. My camera went off there, move on. So that was a very quick transition. There's been a lot of changes in this video straight around. But either way, man, it's a good point to end it because my camera overheated, it said. But either way, man, it's been a very, very, very fun chat yet again. It's going to be good, isn't it? It's going to be exciting. I'm really pumped, man. Every time we have these chats, you kind of realize how lucky we got it, don't we? We genuinely do have it incredible. And it's weird to think that like a lot of this Aguero pain, it's never going to be easy, but it'll feel an awful lot better if we sign some of these players. And imagine the blow, by the way, like the rest of the Premier League is sat there going, oh, Aguero's gone. They fucking just signed Grealish and Haaland. It's almost not even fair. And I love the idea that absolutely crushing their hopes and dreams.
This is because, it. Stand on their necks.
Why not? Flex, absolute flex, big time, and really show off what the power we've got. Guys, Ahsan is from the 9320 podcast. Loads of you know by now, but go check out the 9320 podcast. There's literally a link in the video description below. Ahsan is absolutely awesome. He knows his stuff. He's positive. He's brilliant. And so are everyone else on the podcast, from Howard to Stefan to Lloyd and everyone else in between there. It's a brilliant podcast. Go and check it out right now, and I'm sure we'll be back very, very soon. Ahsan, thank you for coming on, man.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
See you later, guys. In a bit.